Being immersed in the wilderness is always an exhilarating experience. But at 30 below, simply existing is an adrenaline sport. Camping at extreme temperatures tests your skills like nothing else. Anyone can go somewhere cold and freeze their ass off for a few days, but traditional winter camping truly allows one to live for extended periods of time in the northern wilderness. But there is a caveat. Thriving out here requires something of you. A debt that is paid daily with your sweat, your blood, your determination. Everything is work, because out here your actions alone decide if you live or die. Because living in what Calvin Rutstrom would call a paradise below zero is much like baking a cake. A certain recipe must be followed. There are few better to teach this recipe for success than Dave and Kylan from Lure of the North. They are the epitome of practice what you preach, and this past February I had the pleasure of assisting them in teaching their Life on the Trapline course to an eager group of people from diverse backgrounds. This video is the first of several in a series as we experience not only winter camping, but trapping, skinning, and eating a variety of animals right in the field. There's no guarantees out here, so follow along as we experience new things, attempt to live off the land, and teach the joys, highs, and lows of life on the trapline. A long drive, but I finally made it. I am at Lure of the North, an eco-adventure outfitter just west of Espanola. And in the morning, we're going to be setting up for their Life on the Trapline course. Right now, I'm in a double-walled wall tent with a wood stove. And they call this the guest accommodations for obvious reasons. Very well set up. Nice little wood stove here. Gonna keep us warm, keep me warm for the night. Ooh, bit of smoke. So we've got that all filled up. Still a little cold in here, but it's been a long night. Got here pretty late, and I'm going to bed. See you in the morning. The next morning, after a big breakfast, we loaded up the snowmobiles and headed out towards the campsite. The course participants are walking in later, but we needed to head out ahead of them and take care of some of the camp chores before their arrival. Generally speaking, we try to keep everything traditional, which usually means hand-hauling gear. However, the realities of running a business in the bush, combined with the extra gear needed because of COVID, meant that we had to haul the gear into the site by snowmobile. Because the trip was focused on learning, we also cut firewood by chainsaw as well to allow more time to set and check traps. Home sweet home.
Yeah.
Found some stragglers?
I knew the load looked lighter when I got back.
You thought, I put all that work into cutting that much wood and this is all I got. Yeah. My first task was setting up my own tent. When setting up a canvas hot tent, the first step is to pack down a flat area by snowshoe. While the snow was not overly deep, packing snow is always a better option than digging it, since you never know if you're camped on solid ground, swampy area, or even water. I use a snow tracker tent, and they come with internal frames, so the next step is to put the frames together, unpack the tent, and get it onto the frame and set up. Traditionally, canvas wall tents utilize several poles and crossers to hold up the canvas, but the internal frame of the snow tracker means you don't need to cut as many trees, and it's faster to set up, which is awesome when setting up and tearing down camp every day on a longer distance trip. The extra weight of the poles is offset by time savings, earning their place on the toboggan. Despite the internal poles, we still need to use one tree for bedding and supports. The best trees are balsam fir and spruce, both abundant in the northern forest. After dropping the tree, I limb it with the axe. The limbs will provide a comfortable mattress in the tent. I've selected a nice balsam fir growing tight together with some others. Its removal will mean that the trees around it will get more light and continue to thrive. The next step is setting up the stove. I use a 4-dog titanium stove. Even at 20 below, it is able to heat my 8x10 snow tracker well past 90 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning drying out clothes and cooking is easy. Where the 4-dog really shines, however, is heating overnight. When full of wood and damped down, it will hold coals for 4 and even 5 hours. This lower heat output means that the tent is hovering slightly warmer than freezing, which makes for a very comfortable sleep, and more importantly, it keeps frost out of the sleeping bag, which is oh so important on those multi-day trips. Now that we have boughs from our tree, it's time to turn them into a mattress. The key is to stick them into the snow so that the sharp end doesn't cause hard spots, and their natural bend of the branch provides some spring. Most texts on the matter recommend at least 16 inches of them for comfort, but since we have foam pads and air mattresses, less will do. An added benefit is that any snow you get on your clothing falls right through the boughs and you avoid wet socks. I don't have enough for the whole tent, but that's not a big issue today. Well, there we have it. We are pretty much done setting up. Get a little idea of where we are. In the middle of nowhere. So there's our quintessential hot tent setup with a few modern twists, but we won't look at those. Little tour, you can see we've got the stovepipe supported with the other pieces of the tree we cut. We use all of the tree because we use the top to support the stove, and this, how this works is the metal heat on the stove heats up, the stove will sink into the snow. But the fact that there's wood here through these keepers in the stove will not sink over many nights of use. Got the Dutch oven, nothing better than that. And Dave is back, so I will go help Dave with the gear. I love the shades in there.
Hey? Yeah. Silent. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, well let me make sure everything is delivered over here and then I can come back and help you. What's up?
My goal is to catch someone's most graceful swan dive as a trip on their snowshoes.
You're pointing in the right direction.
Come on now. 1,000 miles to your name and
Yeah, it was the first 900 that were pretty tough.
and no falls, right? Yeah.
I got an award for being the most improved, not faller or whatever they could call it. I forget how that was.
Most improved not faller.
Yeah,
I think we can make that into an award.
to fall every 10 steps, I'd be on my face.
How goes the bows?
It's going. There's a highly skilled technique that's involved.
A highly skilled technique.
Yes.
Tell us about this highly skilled technique, because
It's ancient knowledge that's been passed down to me within the last 3 minutes.
okay, yeah,
And
all right,
essentially, I don't know if you can see inside
I can.
the structure here, but you dip the ends of the branch into the
Yeah,
ground.
as opposed to up into your flesh.
Exactly,
That
and
makes
then
sense, yeah.
kind of just like poke successive fanned out layers.
Okay, yeah.
And I believe that's how it's done.
That's how it's done. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll come back and see the finished product.
All right. Okay.
Burying the dead man anchors. Nice.
I don't want any drafts.
No drafts.
I want it cozy warm.
Yeah. Warm is good. It's a big tent.
So good.
I think you have the biggest one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how did that happen?
I don't know. No, but I had a Harold helper.
A Harold helper, okay. So you had Harold who gave you the
Yeah, he gave
the
me some
end.
advice. We've buried our dead man stick or something like that.
Yeah. Is it just one stick?
Yeah, I haven't tied them yet, but
Yeah.
it's under there.
Nice.
Apparently I have to let them freeze so they whisper.
Yeah, I always go too soon and then it pulls out and collapses.
Oh no.
It's a technique I perfected.
I'll learn from your mistakes.
Perfect.
No pun intended, right?
No pun intended.
No, no tripping, no fall.
No tripping. Coming along, eh?
Come on.
Nice. I think that's the flattest spot I've seen.
I'm going to do a bit of
Key.
gray matter hunting here.
Oh yeah.
I haven't done this for a while. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brand new stove, eh?
Yeah,
Nice.
first time doing it.
Right on.
So
So far things seem to be the right way up.
yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I can align this up, you know?
Yeah.
Lest I like sort of wire that in and then I can't.
Mine started labeled and now they're just not. So yeah, I play around with mine for like 5 minutes to try and get them right.
Okay. Hope we.
Despite cutting the wood with a chainsaw, splitting is done by hand. Splitting on snow provides its own set of challenges. Here, Kylan shows a couple methods of splitting wood on the soft snow surface. Speaking of chopping, there's always work to be done when winter camping. Chopping the communal water hole is next on the list. The debate over melting snow versus boiling water rages on. Because our fuel supply is virtually unlimited, energy used to make drinking water is not worth mentioning. On one hand, melted snow is ready to drink as soon as it's water, while water from lakes, and in this case a river, is almost guaranteed to carry parasites that can really ruin your week. Boiling is almost the only way to guarantee cysts such as Giardia, the notorious beaver fever, are killed. Snow has so little water in it per volume that it can be quite annoying continually adding more to try and get the amount of water you need in a day, so I find simply filling a pot and waiting for it to boil to be easier. I add snow after it's boiled to cool it down and make more water. Using a chisel to chop through the ice might seem simple, but like anything about winter camping, it takes work, especially when the ice is quite thick. Fortunately, the ice on the river is only 6 inches thick.
Keep pulling the tree back. Nice. Now, see, you're stomping on your boughs. So you keep walking back, but the tree stays the same place. Yeah, so if you find it's hard because it's like a fat, then you can open up the choke a little bit, have a little bit more leverage, yep. And try and go at the base of it, yeah, exactly, yep.
Chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot
Sauce pie.
pie without the pie.
Chicken pot.
Chicken pot. That there is a chicken pot. A pot with chicken. It's like the tents are all mostly set up now anyway. Get a wood cut for the night. Steam. Delish.
Yeah, it's gonna have a little smoky flavor too.
Nothing wrong with a bit of smoky flavor.
Yeah.
I am going to get a bowl. Day 2 of life on the trap line at an end. Now all that's left is to turn in for the night, but before that, better make a fire. First thing is finding a tree, and we'll go over more about that later, but most dead trees are dry on the inside. And you can tell just by feeling them and the look of the bark, and we'll do a little more on that afterwards, but let's see if we can make a fire and get some heat on in here. The important part is to get it as fine a pieces as you possibly can, because it takes very fine and dry pieces to catch the flame. So many people rush the step of having a lot of really dry tinder to take a flame. And you hear stories of people who barely made it out with their lives in the wilderness. The number one thing you hear is they couldn't find dry wood under the snow. Well, it's because there is no dry wood underneath the snow. I remember a tale of a guy not far from where I live, and they found him dead because he couldn't make a fire. He went to a hardware store, woefully unprepared when he arrived. He went to a hardware store and asked for an axe and a few things, and said he was doing a survival camping trip. Couldn't find dry wood under the snow. His first problem was looking under the snow for dry wood. You're not gonna find it there. And tomorrow we'll look at how to find dry wood. Tomorrow night when we get back in off the trap line. Now even this is a very lazy fire, but it's gonna work. As you can see, my lazy fire almost cost me, but this time I get to try again. In a survival situation, that might not happen. Now the fire's on. Time to go get some water and turn in. Just relaxing in the tent after a very successful day 2, first official day of the course. Got one beaver trap in. All the course members are in their tents and ready for the night. It's about 80 degrees in here right now. The wood stove's really working. Got some water on. Water's all full. Not much else to do tonight. We will catch you in the morning. The trip is just beginning, but I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Lure of the North's Life on the Trapline. If you like this, you aren't going to want to miss what happens over the next 5 days. If you don't want to miss it, hit subscribe and give the video a like. That way you won't miss Harold doing more of, well, whatever it is he's doing here. Tomorrow we get into the literal meat and potatoes of the course. Because it's a long trip packed with great stuff, I'm going to make it a 3 or even a 4-part series. It's going to take a while to get the next episode out, so please be patient. And in the meantime, I have a traditional native spearing video I'm dying to get out in the next few weeks. So don't miss that one. Hit subscribe right now. This is After Work Outdoors. Till next time.